Harley Davidson isn't just struggling, it's on the brink of disaster. Sales are collapsing, factories are shutting down, and if something doesn't change fast, we could be watching the slow death of America's most legendary motorcycle brand. But what if I told you this downfall isn't just bad luck? Harley's own decisions are driving them off a cliff. From alienating their core riders to pricing themselves out of the market, the company is making one mistake after another. And trust me, some of these will leave you stunned. Stick with me until the end, because this isn't just about one company. It's about the future of motorcycling itself. What's happening? Harley Davidson's financial situation is worse than most people realize. This isn't just a slow quarter or a temporary downturn. The company is in serious trouble. Sales are plummeting, profits are shrinking, and the brand's once loyal market is turning away. What was once a symbol of affordability and independence has now become a luxury item few can afford. For decades, Harley was the go-to motorcycle for working-class riders. It was a blue-collar brand, a bike you could save up for and feel proud to own. But today, that dream is dead. The cheapest new Harley, the Nightster, starts at $13,500. But that's before dealership fees, taxes, and markups. By the time a buyer gets it on the road, they're looking at $17,000 or more. Want a touring model? Expect to pay anywhere between $25,000 and $40,000. That pricing alone is enough to drive away younger riders, but the problem doesn't stop there. Interest rates have skyrocketed, making it even harder to finance a Harley. In an era where the cost of gas, groceries, and rent is rising, many riders simply can't justify the price of a Harley Davidson. Even those who want one are being priced out of ownership. Meanwhile, Harley's international sales, once a safety net, aren't saving them anymore. Global markets are struggling with the same economic pressures, and Harley's brand doesn't have the same emotional appeal outside the United States. The result? A company that is bleeding money with no clear way to stop it. But the real problem isn't just pricing, it's Harley's failure to connect with the next generation. Harley's culture crisis. Why the next generation is walking away. For decades, Harley Davidson was more than just a motorcycle brand. It was a symbol of rebellion, freedom, and working-class pride. Owning a Harley meant being part of something bigger, a brotherhood of riders who shared a deep connection to the open road. But today, that culture is no longer attracting new riders. It's pushing them away. The traditional Harley image, leather jackets, loud engines, and the outlaw biker persona resonated with past generations. However, younger riders don't see motorcycles as symbols of rebellion in the same way. They value affordability, technology, and inclusivity over brand legacy and exclusivity. The once iconic Harley or nothing mentality, where some riders dismiss non-Harley bikes, has backfired. Instead of feeling welcome, many newcomers feel alienated by the brand's aging, insular culture. At the same time, Harley's pricing strategy has made its bikes inaccessible to the very people who once defined its identity, the working class. The entry-level Nightster starts at $13,500, but after dealer fees, taxes, and markups, buyers are looking at nearly $17,000. Touring models range from $25,000 to $40,000, making them a luxury rather than an attainable dream. For younger riders struggling with rising costs of living, a brand new Harley is simply out of reach. This disconnect has led to an aging customer base that is shrinking every year. The average Harley rider today is in their mid to late 50s, and as these longtime enthusiasts age out of riding, the company is failing to replace them. Instead of adapting to changing market demands, Harley has doubled down on nostalgia, banking on past glory rather than embracing the future. If Harley Davidson wants to survive, it needs to evolve. That means making its brand more welcoming, pricing its motorcycles within reach of the next generation, and shedding the rigid exclusivity that has kept younger riders away. The motorcycle industry is changing, and if Harley refuses to change with it, its once loyal riders will keep looking elsewhere until there's no one left. And it's not just a cultural issue. Harley's biggest mistake is what happens after you buy one. The dealership disaster. Even if someone wants to buy a Harley, getting one is a nightmare. Harley Davidson's dealership network is notorious for overcharging, upselling, and pressuring buyers into bad deals. While other motorcycle brands make the buying process easier, Harley makes it painful. One of the biggest problems is inflated pricing. Dealerships don't just sell bikes at the manufacturer's suggested retail price. They mark them up thousands of dollars. Freight fees, setup charges, documentation fees, the add-ons pile up fast. A bike that starts at $24,000 can easily end up costing $30,000 or more. Then there's the high-pressure sales tactics. Many Harley dealers push buyers into unnecessary upgrades, convincing them to add extended warranties, accessory packages, and financing deals that make the final price skyrocket. Worse, many dealerships act like they're doing the customer a favor, treating buyers with arrogance instead of respect. Meanwhile, Harley's competitors are doing the exact opposite. Brands like Honda, Yamaha, and Indian have streamlined the buying experience, offering transparent pricing and customer-friendly financing options. Riders can walk into a dealership, get a fair deal, and ride away without feeling scammed. The dealership model is killing Harley Davidson's reputation. Even longtime Harley enthusiasts are getting fed up with the way they're treated at dealerships. Instead of walking away with their dream bike, many are walking out the door and straight to the competition. And once you buy one, you're locked into a system that makes ownership even worse. The repair monopoly. A corporate trap? Harley Davidson's financial struggles don't end when you buy the bike. In fact, owning a Harley is where the real financial pain begins. That's because Harley, much like John Deere, has created a repair monopoly, one that forces customers to pay premium prices for maintenance and repairs. Harley's motorcycles are increasingly built with proprietary software, which locks out independent mechanics and even owners from performing their own repairs. This means that every time a Harley owner needs a repair, they're forced to go to an authorized Harley dealership, where prices are outrageously high. Want to diagnose an issue with your bike? You can't. Harley's software prevents you from accessing the system. Need to reset an error code? That's locked too. Even simple maintenance, like adjusting electronic settings, requires Harley's proprietary tools that only dealerships have access to. This strategy is designed to keep customers trapped in Harley's ecosystem. Instead of letting riders fix their own bikes or go to independent mechanics, Harley forces them into expensive service contracts. And the worst part? Customers are furious. The right to repair movement is gaining momentum, and many Harley owners are demanding change. Just like farmers pushed back against John Deere's restrictive repair policies, riders are now fighting for the ability to maintain their own motorcycles. If Harley doesn't listen, they risk losing even their most loyal customers. In the meantime, riders are looking elsewhere. For many former Harley fans, that's enough reason to jump ship. And Harley's problems don't stop there, because even their own workers are turning against them. The used market is killing new sales. One of the biggest threats to Harley's survival is the secondhand market, which is growing rapidly while new Harley sales continue to decline. Unlike cars, motorcycles, especially Harley Davidsons, do not suffer from extreme wear and tear. Owners take meticulous care of their bikes, maintaining them for years with regular upgrades and careful upkeep. This means that many used Harleys on the market today are in near pristine condition and available for a fraction of the cost of a new one. Riders who might have considered purchasing a brand new Harley are instead turning to the used market, where they can find a low-mileage, well-maintained bike for nearly half the price. This problem is only getting worse as older riders begin selling their motorcycles. Many lifelong Harley owners are either retiring from motorcycling or downsizing to lighter bikes, leading to an influx of well-maintained used models hitting the market. This oversupply is pushing prices down, making used Harleys an even better deal than new ones. At the same time, Harley's refusal to price competitively has made the decision even easier for consumers. Why spend $30,000 on a new Road Glide when a 5-year-old model with low miles costs $15,000? Riders are doing the math, and Harley is losing those customers fast. But that is just one part of the financial problem. Harley is also failing in technology and innovation. Harley's unwillingness to modernize has alienated younger riders who expect lighter, faster, and more efficient motorcycles. Instead of evolving, Harley has doubled down on nostalgia, catering almost exclusively to an aging customer base that is shrinking every year. And when Harley finally does try to innovate, they keep making the wrong choices. Harley's electric nightmare, a failed future. When Harley Davidson announced the Livewire, their first fully electric motorcycle, many saw it as a bold step toward the future. But instead of revolutionizing the industry, Harley managed to turn what could have been a game-changing product into a total disaster. The biggest mistake was the price tag. The Livewire debuted at $30,000, a shocking amount for a motorcycle, let alone an electric one. For comparison, riders could buy a brand new Tesla Model 3 for just a little more or opt for an electric motorcycle from Zero Motorcycles at a much lower price. The result? Almost no one bought it. Harley's target audience, their traditional cruiser customers, had zero interest in an electric bike, while younger riders who might have considered it could not afford it. With sales numbers plummeting, Harley quickly spun off Livewire into a separate brand, essentially distancing itself from its own product to avoid further embarrassment. Even when Harley does manage to launch a successful new model, they fail to capitalize on it. The Pan America, their first adventure bike, received positive reviews and actually managed to attract new riders. But instead of following up with similar models, Harley went back to focusing on outdated cruisers, failing to build on that momentum. Harley Davidson isn't failing in isolation. Its competitors are thriving. While Harley clings to outdated ideas, other motorcycle brands are innovating, adapting, and winning over new riders. So, who's taking Harley's customers? The Indian motorcycle comeback. For decades, Indian motorcycles was nothing more than a nostalgic footnote in American motorcycling history. But in recent years, Indian has staged a comeback so powerful that it is now one of Harley's biggest threats. And unlike Harley, which seems stuck in the past, Indian has found a way to balance tradition with innovation, delivering exactly what modern riders want. A big part of Indian's success comes down to design and engineering. While Harley continues to sell heavy air-cooled V-twins that rely on decades-old technology, Indian has embraced modern engineering without sacrificing its signature American cruiser aesthetic. Their lineup includes liquid-cooled engines, high-performance suspensions, and cutting-edge rider aids, all wrapped in a package that still looks and feels like a classic American motorcycle. The Indian Challenger is a perfect example. It goes head-to-head with Harley's Road Glide, yet it offers better power, smoother handling, and advanced technology at a competitive price. Riders who once swore by Harley are now switching to Indian simply because the bikes are more fun to ride, better equipped, and more reliable. Then there is the pricing factor. Harley Davidson still charges a premium price for motorcycles that feel outdated, while Indian offers better value across its entire lineup. Even Harley loyalists are starting to ask, why pay more for less? With each passing year, more riders are leaving Harley behind. Not because they dislike the brand, but because Indian is giving them a better deal. But it's not just Indian. Harley is also losing riders to brands they once ignored. The rise of Japanese cruisers. For years, Harley Davidson looked down on Japanese motorcycle manufacturers, assuming they could never compete with the brand's loyal following. But today, Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki are not only competing with Harley, they are winning. A major reason for this shift is affordability. While Harley's cheapest entry-level models still cost well over $10,000, brands like Honda and Yamaha offer reliable, stylish, and beginner-friendly cruisers for half the price. Take the Honda Rebel 500, for example. It delivers smooth performance, fuel efficiency, and modern styling, yet it costs thousands less than Harley's Nightster. Japanese brands have also mastered reliability. Riders who buy a Honda, Yamaha, or Kawasaki know their bike will run smoothly for years with minimal maintenance. Meanwhile, Harley still struggles with recalls, oil leaks, and mechanical failures that make ownership feel like a constant repair job. Harley's refusal to change has also left younger riders looking elsewhere. While Japanese brands offer modern features, lighter frames, and user-friendly designs, Harley's lineup is still geared toward an aging audience that prioritizes tradition over progress. Riders today want value. They want a motorcycle that is fun to ride, easy to maintain, and packed with technology, and they do not want to overpay for it. Unfortunately for Harley, brands like Honda and Yamaha are giving them exactly that. And it's not just affordability, other brands are redefining what riders actually want. BMW, Ducati, and the European invasion. Harley Davidson used to own the American touring market. If you wanted a big, comfortable bike for long road trips, you bought a Harley. But today, European brands like BMW and Ducati are stealing that market, offering bikes that outperform Harley's touring models in nearly every way. One of Harley's biggest weaknesses is performance. While Harley's touring bikes are still heavy, air-cooled, and mechanically outdated, brands like BMW are offering liquid-cooled, high-horsepower motorcycles that are smoother, faster, and better equipped. Take the BMW R18 Transcontinental. It has better suspension, superior handling, and a much more advanced infotainment system than any of Harley's Grand American Touring models. Then there is Ducati, which is proving that riders no longer need to settle for a slow, overweight touring bike just to get comfort and style. The Ducati Diavel Vi4 blends aggressive performance with long-distance comfort, giving riders the best of both worlds. Meanwhile, Harley's bikes still feel stiff, sluggish, and underpowered by comparison. Technology is another area where Harley is falling behind. BMW and Ducati now include adaptive cruise control, semi-active suspension, and advanced traction control, all features that Harley has been slow to adopt. Riders today expect their motorcycles to feel modern and high-tech, and right now Harley is failing to meet those expectations. The message is clear. Riders are no longer choosing Harley simply because of the brand name. They want the best bike for their money, and right now that bike is coming from Europe, not America. And if Harley wants to survive, they need to look at one key market: electric motorcycles. The electric motorcycle war. Why Harley is losing. The motorcycle industry is moving toward electric mobility, and Harley Davidson should have been ahead of the curve. Instead, they completely botched their entry into the electric market. Harley's first attempt at an electric motorcycle, the Live Wire, had potential, but Harley priced it at nearly $30,000, more expensive than some cars. Worse, it had a limited range, long charging times, and a niche appeal that failed to attract everyday riders. Meanwhile, companies like Zero Motorcycles and BMW have stepped in, offering electric bikes that are more affordable, practical, and appealing. Zero's lineup now includes models with superior range, faster charging, and better overall value than anything Harley has produced. BMW's electric CE04 is already gaining traction among urban riders, proving that the demand for electric motorcycles is real, just not at Harley's prices. Adding to the problem, Harley spun off Live Wire into its own brand, effectively distancing itself from electric motorcycles altogether. While other companies are investing heavily in battery technology and electric innovation, Harley is retreating from the market it should have dominated. The bottom line? Harley Davidson is at risk of missing the electric revolution entirely. If they do not lower their prices, improve their technology, and commit to the future of motorcycling, they will be left behind as brands like Zero, BMW, and Honda claim the market they failed to secure. And Harley isn't the first company to make these mistakes. History has a way of repeating itself, and Harley Davidson might be heading down the same disastrous road as John Deere. Both companies were once icons of American manufacturing, built on trust, loyalty, and reliability. But over time, corporate greed and poor decision-making began to chip away at their foundations. John Deere's downfall was fueled by repair restrictions, outsourcing, and sky-high prices, and Harley Davidson is now making those exact same mistakes. For decades, John Deere dominated the farming industry, just as Harley ruled the roads. But when John Deere turned its back on its customers and workers, the fallout was swift. Farmers abandoned the brand, workers went on strike, and John Deere became a cautionary tale in corporate mismanagement. Now, Harley Davidson is dangerously close to making the same critical errors. The question is, Will they learn from John Deere's failure before it's too late? And John Deere's biggest mistake? Their repair policies, the repair restrictions. That sparked outrage. John Deere's biggest betrayal wasn't just to its workers, it was to its loyal customers. For years, farmers depended on John Deere tractors to keep their businesses running, trusting that they could maintain and repair their own equipment when necessary. But over time, John Deere tightened its grip on repairs, forcing farmers to rely on expensive dealership services instead of fixing their tractors themselves. The core issue was John Deere's proprietary software. Unlike older models that could be repaired with simple tools, newer John Deere tractors required specialized diagnostic software to perform even basic maintenance. This meant that when a machine broke down, farmers had no choice but to call an official John Deere certified technician. The result? Weeks-long wait times, outrageous repair fees, and crippling downtime during crucial harvesting seasons. The backlash was immediate. Farmers across the country rallied against John Deere, pushing for right-to-repair laws that would allow them to fix their own equipment. Lawsuits were filed, protests erupted, and independent mechanics began searching for ways to bypass John Deere's software locks. Many farmers, fed up with the brand's restrictive policies, began switching to Kubota, Case 1H, and New Holland, brands that still allowed them to work on their own machines. Harley Davidson is walking the same tightrope with its own restrictive repair policies. Like John Deere, Harley is increasingly locking customers into costly dealership services, preventing riders from making their own repairs. Many owners have voiced frustration over needing a Harley certified shop just to perform simple maintenance, driving up costs and pushing some riders toward competitors. If Harley Davidson continues down this path, they could alienate their customer base in the same way John Deere did. But that wasn't the only issue. John Deere also lost the trust of its workers. When workers turn against a company. John Deere's problems didn't stop with repair restrictions. The company also turned its back on its workforce, leading to massive unrest and a serious reputation crisis. For years, John Deere relied on American workers to build its world-class machinery. Factories across the Midwest provided stable, well-paying jobs, and communities thrived thanks to the company's presence. But as profits became the top priority, John Deere began outsourcing production to cheaper labor markets. Manufacturing plants in the United States were shut down, and entire towns were left economically devastated. The betrayal was too much to ignore. In 2021, over 10,000 John Deere workers went on strike, demanding fair wages and job security. The strike lasted for over a month, crippling production and forcing the company to reconsider its treatment of employees. However, by then, the damage was already done. John Deere was no longer seen as the reliable, all-American company it once was. Customers began questioning whether they could trust a brand that didn't even stand by its own workers. Harley Davidson is in dangerous territory for the same reasons. Over the past few years, Harley has faced factory closures, layoffs, and dealership struggles. Many dealerships have been forced out of business due to corporate pricing policies, leaving longtime Harley retailers with no choice but to close their doors. On top of that, Harley workers, who have spent years crafting some of the most iconic motorcycles in history, are now seeing their jobs outsourced or eliminated. A company is only as strong as its workforce. Once employees and dealers turn against the brand, it becomes incredibly difficult to recover. John Deere's strikes cost them millions in lost revenue and shattered their public image. If Harley doesn't start treating its workforce and dealerships with more respect, they could face the same public backlash and internal collapse. So will Harley Davidson repeat John Deere's failure, or can they turn things around before it's too late? Is Harley Davidson doomed? Harley Davidson still has a chance to recover, but the clock is ticking. If they want to avoid the fate of John Deere, they need to make major changes immediately. The first issue they need to address is pricing. Harley's sky-high price tags have made their bikes inaccessible to the average rider. The company once prided itself on being the working man's motorcycle, but today their bikes are seen as overpriced luxury items rather than practical purchases. If Harley doesn't introduce more affordable models, they will continue to alienate younger riders, just as John Deere lost farmers to cheaper, more reliable brands. Second, Harley must fix its repair policies. If they continue to lock customers into dealership service centers, riders will start looking elsewhere, just like farmers did when John Deere implemented repair restrictions. Harley needs to give customers back control, allowing them to maintain and repair their bikes on their own terms. Lastly, Harley must rebuild trust with its workforce and dealers. Factory closures, dealership struggles, and internal dissatisfaction are red flags that signal deeper problems. Harley cannot afford to lose the support of its workers. History has shown that once a brand loses both employees and customers, recovery is nearly impossible. John Deere learned these lessons too late. They spent years alienating their core audience, and by the time they started damage control, many of their former customers had moved on to competitors. If Harley Davidson doesn't act now, they risk becoming just another corporate cautionary tale. What do you think? Can Harley still be saved, or are we watching its final ride? Drop your thoughts in the comments. John Deere's downfall wasn't an accident. It was the result of corporate greed, repair restrictions, and outsourcing, which drove customers and workers away. Harley Davidson is standing on the same edge, and if they don't course correct soon, they could be next. The choice is clear: adapt or fade away. Harley must fix its pricing, loosen repair restrictions, and rebuild trust before it's too late. Otherwise, they could end up just like John Deere, watching once loyal customers and workers walk away for good. What do you think? Can Harley Davidson turn things around, or is this the beginning of the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.